All right, try to do a little acceleration here since there's not much traffic on the road.
Hey, I'm Jonathan Sewell Sales at Mitchell Mazda on the Boulevard in Enterprise. It's a rather warm one today, but we're going to dive into two hot crossovers, the Mazda CX-5 and the Honda CR-V. So we're going to jump in the inside, the outside, compare the two, and even take them for a drive. So let's jump into it. All right, these are two great vehicles for the compact SUV segment or compact crossover segment. Of course, the CR-V, its nameplate has been around a lot longer than the CX-5. So the CX-5 had some ground to make up, and I think it's done a fairly decent job. But let's get started comparing the outside here. And you can see this is the touring model. It is a 2018 that we traded for. So I've got a Grand Touring CX-5 over here, pretty comparative. But this is a pretty good look up front. You can see the reflectors here in this headlight right up here. Pretty stylish looking with the chrome tie-in. I really like this front end a little bit more than on the Accord, which has the big bold chrome, which sees some changes there. You've got fog lights right up front here, and we're going to take these on the road in a minute, but maybe won't have a chance to check out all the lights. I do believe these are LEDs, not so sure about the fog lights though. These are 18-inch wheels. I really love the wheel style with the gloss black and the spun or twisted look. And Michelin tires, which are, I believe, are factory. So it may be something to look up there. Ties in the chrome all the way around. You do have the turn signal indicator right up here, and these are both in pearl white, of course. Chrome or flat silver roof rails, a nice look there. Got your door right around here, which is a locking door, of course. The liftgate has a little different design. Of course, you have the big, bold brake and tail lights back here, and the slim third stop lamp and shark fin antenna up top. Ties in the chrome to the front, so the front and the back match real well. You have a little bit of a lower tag height and a lower pressure pad for your liftgate. But what happens is this opens up all the way, it seems like, hanging down a little bit low. You got cladding on this bumper right here. Then pretty nice space. And what you'll notice is it seems a lot higher than the CX-5. And in fact, there is more cargo space and passenger space in the CR-V, which is one of its claims to fame, especially with these seats down. With the seats down, it has 75.8 cubic feet of rear cargo. With this seats up in this area right here, has 39.2. So about 8 or 9 cargo feet more than the CX-5 with cubic cargo feet, cubic feet of cargo. I'll get it right in just a minute. And then it's right at 16 cubic feet more with the seats down. So this is really where the CR-V makes its claim to fame. Couple of things though. You have to hit this button here to set the height. So same kind of situation. You can hit it, get it, well, let's see. Hit it, get it coming down, stop it, and then push and hold. And so now we've got it set at this height, and this is very similar to all of them in that class. And then we should be able just to push and hold again, and should have set it back to where it was. Nope, probably have to push it and hold a little bit more. Let's just push it all the way up. So again, I'm standing right here, and pretty good height on this liftgate as well. Let's walk around here to the CX-5, which we're real familiar with. Of course, this is a 2020 model compared to the 2018, but both current body styles. And I'm gonna just put up in the cards here a complete walk around or product review, just to touch on the high points. Of course, we have our signature lighting, which again is projector beam. That's more of a reflector style over there. So this is more pointed or directional with these LEDs. Small little LED fog lights, but of course LED is going to be brighter and stronger, which is why I don't think those are LEDs, since you have that bigger opening there. If you'll notice, our big emblem here has the radar. You do have some adaptive cruise, but not the same setup over there. So it's relying more on the camera up top, I believe. Safety features are going to be very similar, and we're a big streamlined headlight fan up front. 19-inch wheels, of course, on this Grand Touring and above. So Grand Touring Reserve and Signature, which are the two premium models with the turbo, which we'll talk about these engines in just a second. Comparing, again, kind of a short back end, kind of recessed roof compared to the CR-V, which is more of a flat or blunt look over there. So we're giving up a lot of cargo right here. Same style roof rail, shark fin antenna. Again, sleek tail lights, the signature lighting with these LEDs back here. And again, a little bit of higher access to the power liftgate. The same type of memory or settings. Matter of fact, this one's been lowered a little bit already, and you can see that the liftgate's not quite as high on the CX-5. Of course, that has to do as well with this curvature right here. It's pretty more profound. And I already talked about the cargo here. Comparatively, with these seats up, you have 30.9 or almost 31 cubic feet. And then with the seats down, you have 59.6. So you can see there's quite a difference there. And that's, like I said, one of the claims to fame of the CR-V. Let's go ahead and set that down. And everything else is pretty comparable. Again, Grand Touring, so very similar models. And let's lower this liftgate down and talk about some engines. Oh, one thing to point out, that the CX-5 has the release, so does the CR-V. So it's just a 60-40 split, not a 40-20-40. All right, so the engine in this vehicle, standard above the base model, so above the LX, you have a 1.5 liter turbo, which we're going to drive in just a second. This 1.5 liter turbo has 190 horsepower, and with the CVT, does get 28 and 34, 28 city, 34 highway. So again, the CVT is getting the better fuel economy. The 1.5 is getting a little bit more horsepower, but we'll compare it on the drive and see what we think about it. And then the CX-5, of course, this is the 2.5 liter naturally aspirated, non-turbo, in other words. And it has 187 horsepower and gets 25 in the city and 31 on the highway with a traditional 6-speed automatic. So again, we'll see what's more fun, what's more peppy. If you were to look at these two cars right here, of course we have the turbo upgrade, which comes on the Grand Touring Reserve and the Signature, which is a lot more power. But this engine right here has a 0 to 60 time of 8.3 seconds. And the Honda has a 0 to 60 at 7.6 with its turbo. So just to compare, if this was a turbo engine, we'd be at 6.4. But sometimes those 0 to 60 times don't equal or equate to a more fun day-to-day or everyday driving. So let's take a real quick look on the inside of these two vehicles, and then we'll take them on the road and see how it works. Okay, starting with the CR-V, and we'll look a little bit more as we're driving, but these seats are fairly comfortable here. For this leather interior, it really feels durable, and of course it's perforated, but feels more like a just a vinyl. It's not really tucked in as much as I would like, but surprisingly very comfortable. And one of the reasons that it's comfortable is you see how that seat bottom opens up there. It almost gives you a little bit of a leg extension feeling for a better position there when you get situated. Do like the faux wood effects inside, and of course this is their tan interior. And nice big screen over here, and we'll see that on the drive. And sort of a traditional higher shifter, which is what Honda's done in the past and continues to do. A little bit of a hide-a-hole console here with all your plugs and access right down here, and then this kind of just opens up where you can kind of do a couple of different things and have a deeper well there, either the front or the rear of that console. And again, all the same safety features. You got power liftgate, lane departure over here, and pre-collision system has a button right up here to turn that off. Let's take a peek back here in the back seat. And again, this is where a lot of the difference is made. So this seat's pretty far back and a lot of leg room. Again, pretty flat floor. So even for the fifth or the middle passenger here, also have 2.5 amp of USB chargers right there. So everybody would have a lot of room. Everybody would have their own chargers for the most part, and a lot of good headroom back here. Moonroof, of course, is standard. A lot of good headroom. This cup holder looks a little chintzy, kind of small, but I guess it's wide enough where you can have a cup holder and elbows on there if you don't have a middle passenger. So pretty nice. Again, the big thing about the CR-V is how much room it has, and it definitely does do that. So let's do a quick look at the CX-5. Okay, the CX-5 Grand Touring here. We do have memory seating, and we'll take a peek on the Touring and see the Touring CR-V. Switches right here. Again, this is kind of what I like, a little bit more of a tucked setup here. Just to give you a little bit of a difference here, it's not as much of a tilt, it doesn't seem, and just how that seat was designed on the CR-V, a little more round, gives you a little bit more behind the knee support. Again, we're real familiar with this. Put up in the cards earlier that full setup, but we're familiar with our infotainment, current infotainment at least. And looking in the back seat, you can see a noticeable difference in the lack of room and just how it's a little bit shorter here. Seemed a little more wide open. We do not have as flat as of a floor, so for this middle passenger it would be, you know, kind of foot on either side. Do have these rear air vents here, and then of course our console with chargers right there and a little device holder, and these are similar to what you'd see up front with these tabs and everything, so a little bit more stable or sturdy, especially for the kids in the back, and a little bit less headroom because of how that interior is designed. But let's get them on the road.
All right, try to do a little acceleration here since there's not much traffic on the road, and hopefully it won't get too dark on us. Let's just see what we got here. All right, so you can hear a little bit of that groany moany exhaust sound of the CVT. Again, that's with all the RPM being at peak areas there for the acceleration. And just to describe what I'm looking at here, I've got kind of a V'd out LCD. On the right side, I've got the fuel indicator, which is kind of like a filling light, and then temperature on the left, and everything else RPM, digital speedometer right up front, and then fuel economy in the bottom there. Big multi-information display. Nice screen right here, big size. It is touch, so you do have navigation standard, and with this Touring, and trying to get adjusted here. I would like it if this console came out just a little bit further. Do have an electronic park and brake, and your memory, by the way, is over here on the door, the driver's door, so do have that. I'm gonna drive this one a little bit farther than the CX-5. Right, this not too bad on acceleration. Actually, from what I remember, a little bit stronger than the 2019 Accord with the 1.5. I'm going to try to use this setup here. So from what I can tell, this is kind of a lane centering with your cruise control here. Adaptive cruise controls lit up, shows the car here, and I can, you know, there's an empty outline where there's no car in front of me. But let's just see what we got here going in this turn. Whoop. Lost it. But it's on a straight path, will keep you in the lane from what I understand, and is a little convenience feature there. It does sound a little bit more loud than what I'm accustomed to in the CX-5. Feels like the steering is a little more loose than on the CX-5. Nice big backup camera screen. So the lane keeping assist is trying to keep me, and even in the turn, it's making kind of slight corrections I can feel in the steering wheel, and you see that. I'm kind of going downhill a little bit here, and then when it's picking them up, it's I don't know what type of level of aggression as far as how sensitive it is, but again, in this road with this winding here, I just feel like I'm sliding all over the back of the chair here as I'm turning. I know that's going to happen, but it could be that the G vectoring control on the Mazda has spoiled me some. I'm going uphill. Let's listen to that groan. Okay, all in all, I'm pretty impressed by the acceleration. You know, I don't really see, because of the CVT, as like a sport mode. I know they got sequential here, and no paddle shifters, so no sequential shift, I don't guess. Maybe simulated for the S and then low for a low gear. Not sure what I think about these controls on the steering wheel. They're like smooth, clear plastic, which is good, I think, so that like you won't wear off the description underneath. But it's kind of hard to, I mean, it just feels like hard plastic. It's not really inviting to the to my fingers. And I don't know, because this is the Touring with the highest trim. They have heated seats, but no ventilated seats. Of course, Grand Touring Premium and above, you get ventilated seats and heated steering wheel, which I'm not sure if that's something the CR-V would get or not, unless they do have an elite package, maybe. So we just have to see. All right, let's hear that difference in the acceleration. Well, I didn't mean to hit it that hard. All right, so more of a traditional RPM, hesitation, RPM, gear change. Of course, we're familiar with this setup here and know that the Grand Touring no longer has the navigation standard like the CR-V does. A little bit smaller screen, of course, a little bit out of reach, no touch right now while we're moving this fast. Do have the commander control. More of a traditional setup with console. Still a little short, stubby console like the CR-V, but a little bit more positioned with this lower gear shift instead of having to kind of reach up and go from there. So let's listen to that acceleration again. I know we've driven the CX-5 a lot, CR-V not as much, but I would say that the acceleration on the CR-V was pretty impressive. Do have to get used to the differences in the CVT, that higher RPM kind of groan, moan, but it is very spacious in the CR-V. Very close. It really just comes down to personal preference on a few things. I do feel like the steering on the CX-5 is a little tighter. And that could be, have a lot to do with the drivability and driving that you do. You may want it to handle a little bit better. So some differences there. All in all, two great vehicles to compare and consider and make your decision on. I'm Jonathan Sewell at Mitchell Mazda. If you have any questions, just drop them below always, or call or text me at 334-718-0504. Until then, Honda's good, but I really can't wait to see you in a Mazda.